Welcome to the Orton Gillingham Podcast, a Brainspring production. Today, we'll hear from special guest Allison Peck, Chief Academic Officer at Neuhaus Education Center, about how advocating for her son led to a fulfilling career in education. Then, we'll introduce our very first Student of the Month. Keep listening.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back.
Hello.
Hi, Katie.
Hello.
Katie's a little bit low-voiced today.
I think everyone enjoys it more this way.
Poor Katie's a little...
And I just went all over the microphone.
I know, and sprayed.
Nobody come close to this microphone.
Except for I'm sitting too close to you and you sprayed. But that's okay. I love you anyway.
Did you want a hug?
No.
Oh, all right.
So I'm keeping my distance from Katie. She's a teensy bit under the weather. So her voice is a little octave lower than normally.
But I kind of like it better.
I know. It sounds nice.
I think everybody does. Just kidding.
All right. Well, today we're introducing something brand new called Voices of Dyslexia. We had a really great time several weeks ago at the International Dyslexia Association conference. And at that conference, we conducted interviews with people that we thought would be really interesting to talk to and share their stories. And so we are going to be introducing some of those segments over the next few weeks. And the goal here is to highlight these voices in the world of dyslexia that promote awareness and education. So we're starting out with the Voices of the IDA. So we did have a lot of fun at that conference.
We did. I had a blast.
It was really fun.
We were nonstop busy.
Yes.
But a really good group of people, and it was nice. It was fun.
It was nice to be in a place where so many people were all committed to the same thing, like helping kids learn how to read, and not just kids, but everybody.
Right.
It was really fun. We made a lot of new friends, met a lot of people, interviewed some people that.
Oh wait.
What?
I have to just tell you this really quick.
Okay.
No, everybody listening, not you. You know what happened.
Oh, I know it. Okay.
At the conference, when you were like, we made new friends.
Yes.
I was like, every time we would go by a booth and you'd meet someone, you were hugging them within like 5 seconds. And I thought for sure you knew all these people.
No.
And no, strangers.
I don't know.
I was like, I've never met somebody who can make a friend that quickly and then just start hugging them.
You know what? I'm Italian. What are you going to do?
I mean, I loved it.
What are you going to do?
Like, I think at one point you said, I'm not very outgoing. And I'm like, what are you? Who are you talking about?
I don't have very good.
You hugged a stranger.
I know. I don't have good self-awareness. I don't know who I am.
No, it was awesome. It was so much fun because, but it was so funny.
It was so, I don't know why that was the case, but it just felt like we made friends.
Yeah, no, we did.
Yeah, I loved it.
Because you were working with us.
Anyway,
in the friends.
It was good. It was good to talk to people and interview people that we weren't planning on even interviewing. People that we just met that came along and agreed to talk to us. And so over the next few weeks or a few podcasts, I should say, we're going to be meeting those people, which is going to be fun to revisit those. So one of the people that we interviewed was Allison Peck. And so that was Katie who did that interview.
Yeah, I interviewed her. She was wonderful. And she has a really interesting background and had some really interesting things that I hadn't heard before, like just in her situation. So actually, when I started the interview, I had her introduce herself. So, and she just took off. Like, she was great. I'm like...
Perfect.
She was great.
Made your job easy. And this kind of is a great follow-up to our last podcast that talked about advocating for your children, right? So it's that was kind of a segue into this really nice interview. So
yeah, because you'll find out that she was a huge advocate for her son.
Yes,
so
I'm excited to hear it. I have not heard this interview.
No, Esther has not heard this. So real-time reaction.
It is real-time.
Boom, boom, boom.
I'm excited.
All right. So, let's start the interview, and she'll introduce herself in the beginning.
Perfect.
So first, I was going to ask you to introduce yourself.
Sure. I am Allison Peck from the lovely area of Houston, Texas. I'm a Texas girl, born and bred, and currently work for Neuhaus Education Center as their chief academic officer. We are a nonprofit, and we work with teachers, certify them to become therapists. We have a wonderful family support office. We also do adult literacy for those that don't get great first instruction. They come to us as adults. And I've been there for 7 years. Prior to that, I was in the classroom, special education, gen ed, case manager, all of the things in middle school, and then ended my classroom career in elementary school as a reading specialist.
You've been all over the board.
Yes.
You've worn many, many hats. So with that said, I think that happens a lot with us. Like I started out as a special education teacher, and then you move to more of the advocacy side sometimes, or supporting students in a different way. So I was just kind of going with the theme of this conference and why, like, everybody reading. How do you contribute to the overall theme of that? Of our theme of until everyone can read?
Wow, great question. I came at this work as an advocate, but as a mom. I did not, and this is always kind of hard to say and people wince, but I never wanted to be in the field of education.
Oh, really?
Not at all.
That does not make me wince. That actually makes me very intrigued to ask you why.
Okay. I was just on a different sort of path. I have my first master's degree is in history, and I had planned to just go on and be in academia and be in history, and that's what I wanted to do. And our first child, when he was making the transition from pre-K to kindergarten, we had a wonderful pre-K teacher. She was a retired first grade teacher, so she knew what was in store. And she said, wow, there's just something not right with your kiddo. And I was like, none of that makes sense to me.
Right.
You know, I didn't really understand the developmental markers that he was missing.
Pause this for a second? Because she's about to say something that I think we talked about in a different conversation, not even on the podcast. You and I had been talking about it. And she makes an interesting comment coming up that I wanted to, it kind of goes with the advocacy piece, but it's an interesting comment. I want to hear what you have to say.
I didn't really understand the developmental markers that he was missing, or I was like, tell me more. And so she sat me down and she said, and we were sitting at one of those tiny, tiny tables, and she said, let me give you an example. I said, bring it. So she said, every week they introduce a letter, right? The letter O. It's an octopus. We eat orange foods. We, all the O things. And most of the kids are able to grasp what that letter name is. They hold on to it. They know it. And then what they do is all the letters have been introduced. The kiddos would sit in a circle, almost like musical chairs, and they would pass these letter tiles around of the letters that had been introduced in the classroom. She looked at me and she said, very dramatically, he's never gotten one right. And she said it doesn't make sense because his verbal is really pretty good.
Right.
He can communicate. And so she just said, there's something up there.
Right.
And thinking back, it was a very brave thing for her to do, because I think she could have, if she would have never said anything, we would have just gone on to kinder and first and kind of just been in
And
the
saying
system.
that without knowing what it is, that's a brave thing to do. Just to say, I do think there's something here. I'm not sure what it is, though.
Let's stop that for a sec. Yeah, so I think that is super important, because the teacher stepped out and had to say something to the parent that was not very comfortable, and something that some parents might not appreciate hearing, but that was awesome that she did that, because I'm imagining that it changed the course of his.
Yeah. And I thought that was so interesting, because when we talk about being advocates too, we've talked about, it takes a village kind of thing.
Yeah.
And teachers are advocates for their students
gosh,
too. And
yes.
even though that was probably not like protocol, what she was supposed to do.
Yes.
She has enough experience to know.
Right.
And I think that was worth explaining, because if somebody doesn't understand
Right.
kind of how things work with getting
yes.
tested and all that stuff. It was a super brave thing.
It really was because, we tend to not want to just tell parents there's something wrong,
Right.
But on the other hand, they need to know,
Yeah. Yeah.
And the other thing that struck me about that little piece there was talking about going around the room and he never got one right. And it just reminded me of when my daughter was little, they used to have these things in kindergarten called happy squares.
Oh.
And every day there were 10 of them. So a sheet of happy squares would last 2 weeks, one happy square per day. And at the end of the day, if you were really a good little kid, you would color your happy square. And Mamie never got to color a happy squares. Never. She maybe would have 2 happy squares colored out of the 10.
Poor Mamie.
I know, because she was so ADHD and just so, couldn't pay attention, and she was only 5,
Yeah.
And when my other daughter Lydia came home from kindergarten, Mamie's 4.5 years older than Lydia. So Lydia came home one day with happy squares. All of her happy squares were colored in because that's who Lydia is. All of them were. And Mamie made the comment, "Wow, you got to color in all of your happy squares."
Aw.
Like that was like super, it made me super sad.
Yeah.
Super sad, you know? So I don't know why when she mentioned the kids going around the circle and he never got one right, I just immediately thought of that poor little kid.
She never got to color in her
No.
happy faces.
No, but then I thought of Allison's little kid who never got it right. And that's like something that is,
We should make a happy face chart for Mamie. She's about to have a baby.
she is, yes.
And we can make a happy face chart for every day
Okay, let's do it.
she has a baby. She did a great job.
I love it. Yes. But anyway, thanks for it. That just popped in my head. But yeah, bottom line, that was super brave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Again, we were living in Houston, and they said, she just mentioned Neuhaus Education Center. She said, hey, just call them, see what they have to offer. I called. They have free information sessions, which we still do in English and in Spanish, a couple times a month for anyone that's interested to learn more about dyslexia. So I attended one of those, and as they're walking through the markers, those indicators, I'm thinking, wow, that's my kid. So I go home and I have a conversation with my husband, and he says, yeah, I'm dyslexic.
Isn't that crazy?
Yes.
I think it's crazy that her husband had dyslexia. She goes into more detail about this. And he never said
anything. Yeah.
They've been married 30 years.
I wonder if it's because out of embarrassment.
Well, you'll hear it.
Okay.
But
Interesting.
it is interesting that he would have never shared that.
Yeah.
I'd never heard the word before. Like, all of this was brand new information to me.
Yeah.
And so looking back, we went to the same college. He was a basketball player. I was a volleyball player. And he would go to a student support center, which is, kind of a testing center. And this was back in the 80s before anyone really knew what that was. And he would go there for tests, things like that. I thought it's just because he was an athlete. Like, I never put 2 and 2 together.
And he never said anything.
He never,
Never an inkling, nothing.
No, he never opened up like, this is what is happening. This is what I'm doing.
Was there a reason he didn't share that? Or was it just he never thought it was important?
I don't think he thought it was important.
Oh, okay.
Like,
That's
he thought,
interesting.
this is my way in the world, and it's just how I do things, and not really didn't need to talk about it.
Which is a good attitude to have about it. But yeah, that's interesting. He never said anything.
And then me being more of a writer, researcher, I loved all of that stuff. I helped him write many papers because I loved it. And he would just be like, wow, this is great. I have this girlfriend that likes to help me with my homework. Fantastic.
She's awesome.
Yeah. And so when all this came out, we had been married, almost 9-10 years at the time. And I was like, hold on. I remember the help I gave you in college. Did you actually marry me because you loved me? Or did you marry me because I helped you get through college? And he was like, no.
No, he's like, well, let me think about that for a second. No, I'm just kidding.
But we've been together 30 years, so it worked out okay.
Yes. Congratulations.
Thanks. But, the funny thing is, I had to know more information. I was like, none of this makes sense. We went and had some testing done, and they said, yes, your child is dyslexic. And I called my mother-in-law, right? I said, I got to get to the heart of the matter. Let me go to the mama of, my husband and get the family history. Well, I had married into a family full of dyslexic people, and they were all from England. So they, I heard many stories about uncles and such that had not been able to go to university because they were deemed, not smart enough, when actually they were brilliant and and just took other career paths to work around that. But I was just like, I have to know more information. And then again, through Neuhaus, they have the certification pathways for people to become therapists. And they said, yeah, your kid is going to need to work with a therapist. And I said, oh, great. How do I find one of those?
Can we stop for a second, Mike? That's a really good. So, if you have dyslexia, share it. Especially if you're a parent.
Right. Because it runs in the family.
It runs in the family. And wouldn't that have been great for her to have that understanding a lot sooner?
And he probably didn't know.
Didn't know,
Didn't know that
exactly.
it was something.
Right.
Didn't make that connection.
Exactly. But and we know so much more about dyslexia now than we did that long ago. Then we know that it is familial. It does run in the family. And
Right.
that's a super important thing to share with your.
Speaking of family, though, wait until you hear this next part.
Okay, go for it.
I was kind of like, I think I was more shocked. She was like, it's no big deal. I'm like, what?
Okay, go for it.
Well, it's not like there's one on every corner. They're hard to find. And there weren't, even in the city of Houston, there weren't that many. And so I was like, well, I don't know what to do. And my mother-in-law said, well, you do it.
Yeah.
I was teaching, I was an adjunct professor at the time. She's like, you go take these classes. I was like, I don't really think this is for me. I can't see me, ever wanting to work with kids. She's like, even if you just do it for, your son, my grandson, go do that. Because with my husband, her own child, she said he just got more. He got more Kumon. He got more of everything, but never truly an intervention program to feel like he could get better at reading.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, maybe in a year or two. I just kind of tried to push her off. It's your mother-in-law, right? I get this wonderful phone call from Neuhaus Education Center the next day saying, oh, we see that you've enrolled in our class that starts next
Your
week.
mother-in-law enrolled you?
She paid.
Whoa,
Yeah.
that is a bold move.
Absolutely.
I was going to say the same exact thing. That was me talking in the video. That is a bold move.
A bold, but she's my hero, man. I want to be in
I was
charge like that.
Wow. I kept bringing it back up because to
That's
me, that was like, what?
Yeah.
She did what?
Yeah, but
'Cause that's a big commitment.
that sure is.
And she was like, here,
I
it's a commitment for 5 years.
All right.
Crazy.
Go, mama.
You must be very close to your mother-in-law.
Yes. Unfortunately, she's passed away, but she had.
I'm sorry.
She was the biggest indicator of like, this is what you need to do. This is
Yeah.
the right thing. So again, it was like, well, let me just dip my toe in and work with my own child. But he was, being having those indicators so early on kind of the spectrum of dyslexia, he was a bit more severe. To pick all of that up. But I was using this program that was so structured, and I started seeing results in him. His anxiety was lessening. He was becoming happier as a school child, and just being a normal kid. And I thought, okay, if I can do this with my own child, I want to kind of take this on the road. I did to get my clinical teaching hours. I worked with lots of other families, and I just saw that the impact this had on the family unit.
Yeah.
Because it's not just the child that's diagnosed, it's the entire family that has to go through. It's, I call dyslexia the disability of privilege, right? Because, they're having to pay and transport this child and all the other tutoring.
Right.
The whole family revolves around that child when they're getting intervention.
That's a great point. Yeah, honestly, that's something that, a lot of times we see that. Who gets to go to tutoring and who gets to get help? It's the kids who can afford it,
Right. And then that becomes unfair in a way.
So-
which is why we do what we do.
Yes.
So that we can train teachers so all the kids are
Get
gonna
it in the
a
classroom. Yeah, and talking about advocacy just struck me too. So not only did the mother advocate, the grandmother advocated,
Oh, my gosh.
in a big way.
Yeah.
So you have a say, you have a voice when it comes to noticing anything that looks off with even your grandkids.
Oh,
And I plan on
you-
doing
you-
that.
You just stood up a little bit taller.
I
when
did
you
because
said that.
I'm a grandma now. So And I like that. Anyway, awesome.
It's a really hard thing to see, but parents were so grateful because they knew their kiddo was getting what they needed.
Right.
If not in school, then privately. And so I did alternative certification to go into the classroom, and then that started my teaching career. And I went got a master's in curriculum and instruction because I was like, I want to know more. Like, how do I, build out all of these great lessons, that sort of thing. And then I ended up getting my PhD in literacy because I'm not satisfied with not only how you learn to read is fascinating. I mean, the whole process of it, but what happens when kids don't? What is the next step? Do we have all the other information? What else can I add to the body of research that would make this okay, that will make it doable in the classroom for any teacher? Because I just had all of this knowledge before I went into the classroom because I had become a therapist first, so I kind of did things backwards. But I just remember all the teachers around me just like, wait, what are you doing? Tell me more. And so just me doing little things to improve what resource teachers were doing and giving them hope and enjoying what they're doing was so impactful to me, and I enjoyed it. So when I had the ability to go back to Neuhaus and then start working with teachers from that level, it was just such a wonderful fit because I felt like, I'd done all the things in the classroom, but now I can really talk to teachers of, these are some things that I've done. These that were great. These were not so great, learn and move forward and do better,
Yeah. And I love that. I'm going back to the story about your mother-in-law because I'm thinking now, do you think she saw something in you that she was like, she needs to do this because I know she can take off with this and make a difference? Do you think she saw something in you?
Absolutely. She was always a believer in people.
Yeah.
She's a cheerleader.
In you, it sounds like.
I think in me and our kids and, my husband, she pushed people. She wanted the best for them. She wanted them to go to the unexplored. And she knew that, that I could do more. And if I could help even my own child, then it was worth the effort and the time and all of that stuff to put into it. But she was just so proud once I was like, I'm going to go help lots of kids.
Right.
I need to get into the public school system. She just thought that was the bee's knees. I mean, she was just...
It sounds like she wanted you to do... She had a plan in mind. She thought you were the right person for this. That's great. That's great. Luckily, she did, too, and she said that, right?
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. Yeah, she was a force.
Is there anything else that you wanted us to know or that you want us to take away from this?
Yeah. I mean, I think just to be part of this kind of revolution, this movement for the science of reading to educate all teachers with grace and pride, to empower them to do the right thing, I just think that's important. I think to bring honor back to the profession of teaching, that's the one thing we're missing is giving teachers and empowering them with some of those tools and the knowledge to know what to do when students are struggling. Right. And I think it's the teachers that don't have those other resources or even, the acceptance of the administrators over them to trust themselves to, when your instinct is saying there's something going on with a kid, follow it. Progress monitor, see what else you can do. And when teachers don't have that, I think those are the ones that are walking away from the profession. So, it seems like a daunting task when you're thinking about how do we train teachers? Let's look at pre-service programs. Are they doing what they should do? Should alternative certification programs, are they doing what they should to prepare teachers, not just to fill a classroom, not just fill a space, but do the work and do it well and be proud of what they're doing.
Right. And giving them the tools so that they feel confident being able to do that. Like you said, because if you're kind of lost about what to teach or how to approach something with a student, it's going to be very hard to continue is what, without those resources. I totally agree. So that's a very good takeaway.
Yeah. And then just update you on my child. I've been in this industry for 20 years now, and I judge it by his age. He is 25. So I started this when he was 5. So he's 25. He Was successful in college. He was a basketball player. He's 6'9", so he had some advantages.
You had both tall parents, right? Because you were a volleyball player.
Yes. My husband is 6'6", and then we have a daughter who's 5'11" and amazing in her own right. She just did not have to do this journey of dyslexia. But he was able to play basketball in college, so he did have the extra supports. Again, he was lucky. And he had me to advocate for him. He knew how to navigate the student center, to ask his professors for what he needed, because he could practice that with me and then empower, him to go out and do the things. But he was able to get a master's degree.
Good for him.
During the time of COVID is when he graduated in 2020, and he was kind of like, what do I do? And so he was able to play basketball for an additional year and get a master's degree, which is, had it not been for COVID, I don't think that would have been his choice, because he doesn't love school.
Right.
But he's very proud of himself and his ability to do all the things. Does he talk about dyslexia very much? No. We had a conversation a couple of weeks ago. And I was saying, here's like the two-sided coin of this, is I got a wonderful career that I love and that I felt successful in. But to get there, he had to go through a struggle of dyslexia.
Right.
So I said, now that you're out of school, do you feel like dyslexia, was an okay thing for you? And he was like, I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, still to get to the other end, right? That's what we push kids. Like, once you get out of school, you're being graded on something that's the hardest thing that you have to do day in and day out. Life will be so much easier. He's like, no.
It will never be easy, right?
Right.
Yeah. It'll always be work.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it sounds like he doesn't steer away from hard work.
No.
So that's important. But I'm glad that he's been so successful with it too.
Yeah. So, but I do stay away from saying it's a superpower. That's not how he would label it. That's not how my husband would label it. So it's just something you have to navigate and hopefully get good intervention. And you have a supportive family unit to help you through that journey. But yeah.
Yeah. That's wonderful.
That's an interesting perspective.
Yeah. Because there is a big thing out there, dyslexia is my superpower.
Right. And that's easy for people that don't have dyslexia to say,
Right. And
you have a
he's like,
superpower, but
no, this is not. I would want to teleport.
yes.
That would be my super.
That's really great. That's great. That's a great insight for me to hear, because we just assume that we see how unique and how people who learn differently have different abilities and skills and that are amazing, but and that's what we see. But inside of them, there's a lot of it's difficult.
Oh yeah.
And they don't want to be seen as that's not a positive thing for them.
Right.
So that's great insight.
Yeah.
Actually, and actually she said something else. Before I forget what she said. I mean, I'm thinking about how she advocated for her child. Her mother-in-law advocated for her child. And Allison also is advocating for teachers. She's saying she wants to bring the honor of teaching back. That is something that has gotten lost along the way. People are not seeing the teaching profession as something that's super honorable all the time. And it totally is. I mean,
yes.
It changes lives, and it's time to make people aware of that. So that I just wanted to remember that. Thank goodness we have people like Allison and Allison's mother-in-law,
Right.
who see that the opportunities and see how important and see the talent in people, and that's what's going to change the
And
perspective.
And it was a great interview. She was, and we were so grateful that she came. And for someone who stated in the very beginning that she never wanted to be in education, she's crushing it.
Yeah, she's crushing it. Good thing she did. All right, that was a great interview.
Yeah, she was great.
You did a good job too. You did.
Nah. I get nervous, sweaty. Just kidding.
But I love how really there wasn't much that. I mean, she just started talking, and that's because
because she has a great
it's
story.
passionate. She's passionate about it.
Very passionate.
That was great. That was a great first interview, and set the bar high for the other ones that followed. So that's awesome.
Oh.
Yes, that's very good. So before we go, we have asked the learning centers, the BrainSpring Learning Centers, to provide us with a student of the month. And so, Katie,
Drum roll.
who is our October student of the month?
Connor Neal is the October student of the month. Connor is a student at the Learning Center in Plymouth, Michigan, and he has successfully completed the phonics first curriculum.
Yay.
And this is a huge accomplishment.
Yes.
So, congratulations, Connor. You are our student of the month.
You're the student of the month. Yes, you're the student of the month. Oh, yeah, we think you're awesome. You're the student of the month. Congratulations. Woo.
Oh,
Whoa.
Can we just give a shout out to Brendan?
Yes, please.
That's Brendan. Like that last little riff there. Man.
I mean, we have multi-talent going on here.
Yeah.
We have Brendan
I
who
was digging it. That was fun.
wrote our little Rat Pack Student of the Month
Student
song.
of the month.
I love it.
I have to make a weird face when I do that
Yeah,
voice.
you all didn't see that. It was
No.
entertaining. Anyway, thank you for that interview, and thank you everybody for listening. This was
and thanks again to Allison for
Yes.
sitting down with me and chatting. It
yes,
was wonderful.
yes. So until next time. So next time we'll hear another interview.
Yep.
I don't know
Until
which
next
one it's
time.
going to be, but it will be a good one.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
See ya.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Orton Gillingham Podcast, a BrainSpring production. For additional content, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on social media, or visit our website at brainspring.com. To submit questions or comments, please email us at podcast@brainspring.com. Your feedback is always welcome.